Hello, Watem here, and welcome back to some more Umineko When Seagulls Cry. A few differences I'm sure you can notice. How it's raining over here, for example. Yeah, I'm currently using the Umineko Project. So let me know what your thoughts are on settings and sound balance, etc. Yeah, I've also changed a couple of microphone settings, so let me know what you think, especially if you notice me cut out at any point. I tried to lower the noise gate, but hopefully it won't cut out any of my actual talking. And lastly, I might have accidentally spoiled myself slightly while reading an article about Mahoyo, of all things. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to bring up Umineko, but also it might just be me reading into it, but from the way it was phrasing things and referencing in Then There and None, makes me think that perhaps Beatrice is possessing one of the people here rather than being a separate 19th entity. But otherwise, it might have just been referencing how every death will be reflected in in Then There and None, the poem, but in this it's the which is Epitaph. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things I don't exactly like all the font details. I wish that it wouldn't tell me or show when it's recording and give away that, but yeah, I do have it set up to show you what the current track is. The reason why the real playtime is 9 hours is because basically to get back up to this point where I was previously, most of the time I just ran it for like a few hours on autoplay while I did something else. In any case, let's continue. This state of confusion must be beneficial to the killer. The culprit has absolutely nothing to gain by showing us the bodies in such an obvious way, and making us all realize there has been a murder. In fact, this is the perfect place to spin the chessboard around, this is. In other words, showing us the corpses in such a flashy way must be the culprit's goal in and of itself. So, at the very least, to the culprit, the appearance of 6 corpses there meant more than the depths themselves. That is probably... yes, cool. Let me actually go to log. Yeah, that's probably a error with the... That is definitely another error. Okay. Not liking that bug. But yeah, I was gonna say that's definitely a formatting issue. I am using the 07th translation. So maybe that's why. In other words, the culprit wanted this murder on display. To whom? To us. This is a message. The culprit's trying to shove something in our faces. I don't know what it is. I do. Wait. This is the other thing I don't really like. It does let me scroll, but the fact that it's not split into the pages like it was previously. But yeah, it's trying to show you this. And yeah, also thinking... Second Twilight, close to remain close. Rain shall tear apart the two who are close. Okay, I had been thinking that perhaps the two who are close... I've now got another idea. I'll say what my first idea was. I was thinking maybe it's talking about how just now they've been... well, George has been talking and Jessica have been talking about Shannon. So those two have been torn apart by one of them being dead. But it's the news of it reaching him, I guess, tearing him apart. But alternatively, it's characters instead. There's only 2 who are close that remain here now. These 2. Hideyoshi and Eva. So maybe it's them? Yeah, anyway, at this point in time, this vulgar mass murder isn't making me feel anything except a malice directed towards all of us. It's actually one thing I wanted to change the config. Bring the speed back down for text. Malice towards all of us, is it? Each one of the survivors has some kind of connection to one of the six victims. Uncle Krause's death brought Jessica to the grief of losing a family member. Deaths of Dad and Kirie-san brought me sorrow. Our Aunt Rose's death brought Maria sorrow. Goda-san's death probably shocked his fellow servants. And Shannon-chan's death brought grief both to George Aniki, who'd proposed to her, and Kanon-kun, who'd loved her like an older sister. Everyone now on this island has received an equal amount of sadness. Aunt Eva was sure that the servants were in cahoots. But then, how could you explain the deaths of Goda-san and Shannon-chan? At any rate, by this argument, the grief caused by the six deaths hit everyone but Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi. Even Aunt Eva, who had directed suspicion of the servants and acted as though she herself was beyond suspicion, could not be ruled out as a suspect. That makes no sense. Settings of the sound are... If anyone knows if there's a... That is completely turned off the X volume. I will definitely restart the game before the next part recording. But if anyone in the comments knows an easy solution for that, I would be appreciative of that. In the first place, she was able to argue that the servants were suspicious by focusing on the shutter's key. But if you look at it from a perspective of motive and who would gain, Aunt Eva's name rises to the top of the list. That's the name of the count music.
バトラ君が何を考えてるか、おばさんわかるわよ。
わ？嫌だな。内緒にしててくださいよ。あんなことやこんなことで頭をいっぱいにしてたなんて。
That wasn't what I was expecting from him.
私がこの殺人で一番得をする。どうせ疑われるだろうから先に自己申告しておくわ。
I tried to dodge the issue by joking around, but apparently it didn't work.
遺産は兄弟の数で分割する。でも今や4兄弟は私一人。後宮家の全財産は全て私のものになるの。
秀吉おじさんが聞いたら予算か言えばシャレにならんっていうところっすね。
ごめんね。どう取り繕ったってどうせ疑われるだろうからふざけただけよ。だからこの殺人は私の立場から見れば私を疑わせるためのものではないかと思ってるの。困ったことに昨べのアリバイは弱いわ。
聞かせてもらってもいいすか？昨べのことを。
バトラ君たちも知っている通り、兄弟が遺産をどう食いちぎり合うかという話し合いは深夜まで続いたわ。
Description of slicing up and eating the inheritance.
でも何時まで続いたかは知らない。私と主人は朝が早かったからね。もう眠くて24時を過ぎたあたりで抜けさせてもらったの。そしてゲストハウスに戻って休んだわ。
それを秀吉おじさん以外の誰かに証明できるっすか？いやいや、別にエヴァおばさんを疑ってるわけじゃないっすよ。
I need to bring the voice volume down now. I don't really want to touch the settings too much right now with how it's messing around.
あら、どうだか証明になるかわからないけれど、ゲストハウスに戻ってきた時、源氏さんに出迎えを受けてタオルはいるかと聞かれたわ。だから私たちがゲストハウスに戻ってきた時間は24時過ぎだと証明してくれると思うわよ。もっとも私の仮説通り使用人たちもグルなのだとしたらこんなのアリバイにならないけどね。
確かにそうっすね。ってことは俺今真犯人と推理ごっこをしてるってことになるんすか？
でも私の名誉のために言わせてもらうけど、遺産目当てだったならこんな変な殺人はしないわよ。って遺産相続権を喪失させるだけならどんな死に方だって構わない。むしろ事故死に見せかけた方がスマートでしょ。使用人たちを抱き込んで周到に計画していたならなおさらそうするでしょうよ。
確かにそうっすね。鋭利で人を殺すならそれは常に殺人に見せるべきではない。
そういうことよ。だからおばさんは今からとてもブルーな気持ちなわけ。警察には黒幕扱いされて散々調べられるでしょうね。やだやだ。
Aunt Heather shrugged with a bitter smile. It was just as easy to suspect Aunt Heather as it was to suspect the servants. So if we spin the chessboard around, does that make it impossible for the culprit to be her, suspicious as she is? No. However, that sort of argument always works. Motive can never help us in any way. No, that can't be right. Knowing the motive must give us powerful clues towards knowing the culprit. That's how murderers from all time periods disguise crimes in complicated ways, cleverly preventing their motives from being discovered. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Every time I spin the chessboard around, it keeps flipping from front to back and back to front. You know, that does tend to happen when you flip something around. Are my thoughts bringing me closer to the truth? Or are they? Have you finally realized? 6? A certain epitaph? No? Aunt Heather didn't want to talk any more than that, so I folded my arms and headed to the window to cool my head a little. As I looked over the parlour, I saw George, Anarchy and the others gathered, talking. It looked like we were talking about the magic circle that had been painted onto the shutter. You might say it was made by a witch? Eh? Come on, look at a witch's epitaph already. As Uncle Hideyoshi thought back to that time, he started drawing the shape in the margins of Maria's notebook. I see. Since Maria was second only to grandfather in knowledge of the occult, she might understand what it meant.
多分こんな感じだったと思うで。十字架をアレンジしたみたいなマークが書かれとったんや。そしてこんな感じで外周の円を取り囲むように妙な文字がびっしり書き込まれていて、十字架の上下左右の辺とその四隅にも何か書かれていたんや。
Uh-huh.
アルファベットとかそういうのとちゃうで。あれはよく言う古代文字とかいうやつや。
あと円周部の頂点に小さなマークがありましたな。小さな丸を5つ十字状に並べ、それぞれを直線で結んだようなマークでした。
ああ、確かにそんなのも書いてあったで。図形的には間違いなくこれや。細かい文字はわからんが、配列はほぼ同じや。
Everyone was staring down at the shape, so I stared down at it too. From what I heard, this had been painted on the shutter to the storehouse with some material that looked like blood. You know what was the material that looked like blood that was in plentiful supply in the storehouse? Blood. Oh. Trying to just find the shape that they just described. I can't really see. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it and this is what they're talking about, but like, let's see. This sure is unsettling.
こんなわけのわかんねえもんを書きたがるのはじいさまだけだろ。まったくどこに行っちまったんだ。とっ捕まえて意味を聞き出してやりたいぜ。
Jessica's voice contained impatience and anger. She hadn't gone so far as to say grandfather was the culprit, but she seemed pretty sure. She seemed sure that grandfather knew something about the culprit's background. Of course, if you're searching for a link connecting the Ushiromiya family to the occult, 10 out of 10 people would think of grandfather. Come on. One of those 10 people might be Maria, in which case you'd think of Maria. Also, to a person who knew nothing of the occult, this strange mark would have no meaning, which meant that it might have been something addressed to grandfather. That's right, and the reason the crime was shown to the survivors was so they would find this. In this case, or in that case, where had grandfather, the essential recipient of this message, disappeared off to?
こんな図形に何か心当たりはあるかい?
Oh? Maria looked at the shape with a serious face. Maybe she was enthusiastic because this was her area of expertise. However, the appearance was that of someone separated from the events at hand. As though this thing hadn't been drawn on the shutter closed around her mother's corpse.
僕の第一印象ではどこか外国の十字章に似たデザインだなって思ったかな。
ああ、確かにこんなデザインや。ということはそのどこぞの国と何か関係があるんか?
Probably not borrowed but stolen, but yeah.
その国の十字章はもともと聖地巡礼者を守るための騎士修道士たちの紋章だったそうですな。
つまりこの魔法陣には宗教的な意味があるってことかよ。
Doubt it.
ますますにちんぷんかんぷんだぜ。
When I looked over at all of them, preparing to jump into the discussion, something shocked me. Does he remember the epitaph? Whoa! Maria was smiling, an eerie and incomprehensible expression on her face. Oh. Suddenly having a large face just pop up on the screen, it surprised me a bit. It was almost as if she was making fun of everyone's ignorance. It was an expression I wouldn't have dreamed to find on Maria's face. Ooh, that's a good one. And what's that reflected in her eyes, I wonder? Has the shape of a person? Perhaps with a hat? And she laughed. That eerie, jarring laugh was something I didn't want to believe was possible, even though I was looking at it right in front of my eyes. Speaking of, at the start, my theory about someone possessing someone, there's this, but also in particular when Maria was reading the letter, how like tone of voice and everything, suddenly reading much more complicated words than she would use, like she'd been struggling with. Yeah, maybe something there. Do I want this or the previous one as the thumbnail though? That's the question.
全然違うよみんな。
Something else that isn't Beatrice, maybe?
こんなの見てわかんないかな。
I expect Beatrice to have more, like, regal laugh than that. While everyone was busy being scared out of her wits, Maria kept on cackling happily by herself. After a while, that laugh was suddenly and abruptly cut off. But her expression still looked like it belonged to someone completely different from Maria.
これは太陽の7の魔法陣だよ。書かれてる文字はヘブライ語。貸して。
ああ。
Maria stole the writing materials from the stunned Hideyoshi's hand. She then started drawing another magic circle with a rustle, right next to the one Hideyoshi had drawn.
ね、こんな図形だったんじゃないかな。
そんな図形だった。
マリア、すごいな。さすが詳しいぜ。
Jessica tried to smooth things over by praising Maria, but she's scared of her now. Maybe she wanted to confirm that this was still the Maria we all knew so well. But Maria didn't answer her in any way in particular. Maria began swiftly writing unfamiliar characters in the corners of the shapes. When Uncle Hideyoshi and Dr. Nandro saw them, their eyes immediately began to open wide.
天地と左右に書かれているのは風化水道を司る天使たちの名。カサン、アレル、タリアハド、そしてフォルラク。そして斜め四方には4代の統治者たちの名。アリエル、セラフ、タルシス、ケルブ。合ってる？
Even if they hadn't been able to correctly write what they'd seen, when they were once again shown something identical, it wasn't difficult for them to realize the two were the same. When Maria asked them whether it matched, Uncle Hideyoshi and Dr. Nanjun nodded over and over again.
間違いない。そうや。確かにこんな文字が書かれとった。なんでこんなん書けるんや。
あと演習文にも文字が書かれておりましたな。
わかってるよ。こうでしょ。
Maria quickly began to surround the circumference with more Hebrew writing.
旧約聖書の詩編第116編の16節と17節だよ。聖書くらい読んでなきゃ。
Acting as though knowing this was only common sense, Maria laughed. For a while, everyone, including me, was at a loss for words. A little later, George Anarchy returned to his senses and slowly managed to speak.
すごいね。驚いたよ。
They're actually going to tell us what those psalms are? So I certainly don't know it off by heart.
それでこの魔法陣にはどんな意味があるんだい？
太陽の力を借りる魔法陣だよ。黄金で描き、護符にして身につけたる者はいかなる牢獄であろうとも、束縛から逃れ、自由を得られる力を授けられる。
Drawn in gold, but they're drawn in blood.
束縛から逃れ自由を得られる。意味深だぜ。
この束縛という意味は何も肉体的なものだけを指さないと解釈されている。だから縛られて牢屋にいる人ばかりに意味があるわけじゃないよ。しがらみや逃れ得ぬ運命など精神的な束縛からの解放も意味してるんだよ。
しがらみや逃れ得ぬ運命か。これまた意味深だな。
しかしさっぱりわからん。
16th, 17th, and 116th. Since it doesn't seem like they're going to actually give us let's see. Psalm 16 is keep me safe, O God, for in you I take refuge. Yeah. Oh, of the 116th Psalm. Right. I was thinking, yeah, that seems a bit too long to have written around with circumference. 16. Let's see. Truly, I am your servant, Lord. I serve you just as my mother did. You have freed me from my chains. I will sacrifice a thank offering to you and call on the name of my Lord. This is the new international version, which is the first thing that came up in Google. Anyway, continuing on.
それとあの6人の遺体とどんな関係があるっちゅうんや。
Yeah, I also really don't see what the connection. I feel like the chapter 16.1 might have more. Would have done better, but oh well. So it talked about protecting.
束縛からの解放どころか殺された上に倉庫に閉じ込められてたんやで。
Well, they were freed from their ties of obligation by being dead. They no longer have to. No longer have the obligations they once had. Dear.
別にその6人のために魔法陣が描かれてるわけじゃないね。
Yeah, that too.
魔法陣のために6人はそこにいるんでしょ。お気の毒だよ。
It's your own mother you're laughing about there.
どういう意味だい？魔法陣のために6人がいるってのは一体。
Maria lifted up her pointer finger and waggled it as if she were making fun of us.
それは演習部に書いてるよ。
Now they're going to tell us, of
読
course.
めないかな。
No.
詩編第116編16節と17節。読んであげるよ。主は私の枷を解かれました。私はあなたに感謝の生贄を捧げ、主の皆を呼ぶでしょう。
Did I just, like, skip over that free me from the chains? I guess maybe it's just translation making that unclear.
ねって何を言ってるのかさっぱりだぜ。
生贄だってのか。
If what Maria had just read out aloud was a vital part of the magic circle, and it was saying that sacrifices had to be offered in order for this magic circle to be effective. So, human sacrifices had been offered inside the storehouse where the magic circle had been drawn. A heartbeat later, everyone else seemed to reach the same conclusion. Some people were shocked and others spat out that this was insane as they punched their knees. This was starting to get incredibly disturbing. We couldn't accept it or understand it. I don't care what kind of magic circles or curses other people believe in. I won't pick a fight with them. But did they really kill Dad and the rest of as sacrifices for crap like this? That? Just couldn't stand that feeling. Compared to this, I prefer that when we were still disgusted by that theory about the fight over the inheritance. As I started getting pissed off with a feeling between anger and sadness, I broke from the circle everyone was in and returned once again to the window. Something had gone insane since yesterday. There was that letter from the witch, Beatrice, that Maria had read aloud at last night's dinner. Ever since that point, it feels like we've been playing a game, a witch's game. No, like this whole mansion, this whole island have been getting more and more firmly locked inside some kind of bizarre world. That's right. And I think back on it, that letter was an invitation from the witch. The ruler of a nighttime island has invited us inhabitants of the day into another world. The phone and the radio had been interrupted, and the island was shut off by the typhoon, so you really could call this place another world cut off from the real one by now. Yeah, as this island is now, it's perfectly normal for a witch to send us letters and for human sacrifices to be offered up for the sake of magic circles. So what will happen next? Well, two will be torn apart. We'll praise either Beatrice's name or Kinzo's name. Not sure yet which one. Not sure yet what that means exactly either. It could be Kinzo, with how he's gone missing. Something will happen, revealing more circumstances regarding him on the third day. Some weird people wearing goat masks start doing the Bond Festival dance or something. It's hopeless, it's hopeless, I don't get it. The inside of my head's all screwed up and I don't even know what to think. Anger, sadness. The opposing emotions all swirled up together, and they started to suck me in. Unable to resist, I could do nothing but cover my eyes with my hands and trust to my mind and body as I started getting sucked in. That last sentence felt weird. As I started losing heart, I began to recall a memory from when I was small. Not for which it's Epitaph. It was from when I was very young. Yeah, I think I'll end it here, so then I can have all the childhood reminiscences in one part. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Once again, let me know your thoughts on settings and sound balance and everything. Yeah. Let me know any other feedback you have in the comments, and until next time, see ya.